Hey guys, it is me again. Let's see, today is Saturday, December 10th. Makes it day 344 on our Project Serve Him More. So again, guys, it's good to be here. Hope y'all doing alright. I'm going to try to make this as quick as I can, guys, because as usual on a Saturday night, I'm running behind. It's 15 to 2. I've still got to finish a sermon and get into bed. So, I'm going to try to be as quick as I can, but I'm going to still try to hit all my talking points and everything I need to say tonight. So let's get into it. First off, like I said, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank everybody for your prayers and just continue to pray for us. Like I said, guys, been saying the last couple of days, just keep praying. For our nativity drive through. We went up there and worked today, and we've got most of it done. But still, I still like quite a bit, to be honest about it. Considering this was our last really full working day. The sad thing about it is I think we're going to have to work tomorrow on it, and I'm not going to lie about it. That bothers me. I'd rather get hit in the face with a crowbar as have to work on something on Sunday. That destroys me. I don't like it. Everything I've ever back in the day when I was in high school and stuff, and I'd work on stuff on Sunday. I'd work on cars. I was bad to work on cars on Sunday. And no joke, it seemed like every car I ever touched on a Sunday broke. It tried to work on it and made it worse. And I always said, after a while, I finally said, the Lord may be trying to tell me something, that He wants me to have this day off. Like I said, I don't like it, but we're going to have to. So anyway, guys, just pray for us on all that. Pray for us that we'll have enough people show up to. I'm not really worried about people showing up for it. I don't know. We've really not advertised as much for it this year as we probably have in the past, and that's my fault. I guess just let the time run out on us. We've got it on the radio. We've been telling everybody we know, and I'm having some flyers made, but I don't know. I thought they was going to be done by today, but they're not. So they're going to be this week before they're done. But at least maybe that'll give us a few days to get them handed out to people. So anyway, just pray for it, guys. And I know if the Lord's in it, then it's going to work out all right. And I'm pretty sure the Lord's in it because I've seen it overcome too much. So okay, that's enough of that, guys. What else? Darren, I do want to thank you, brother, for sending me that information that you were talking about. I thank you for giving me your phone numbers and your address and all that, and your Skype address. So as soon as I get on the computer tomorrow, I'll probably be be hitting you up to add me on Skype. So thanks for that, and I do thank you on the information on that stuff. Anytime I can learn something new about anything mechanical, I like to. So I do thank you for your information on that oil. And I know that you're probably, you're right about that. Evidently these new compressors are built. Heck, I don't know. Like you said, most of the compressors are just a bare aluminum rod on a steel crank, like a Briggs engine. Maybe these newer ones like mine with a cast iron cylinder and stuff, maybe it's got a Babbitt insert in it, like a car, or maybe have some type of roller bearing for the crank or something. You never know. I don't know without looking inside of it. So, maybe that's the reason you can use synthetic. So, but I'm going to try to get my friend. I got a friend that actually switched his bike to Amsoil synthetic, and he was already running Screaming Eagle Harley synthetic, because that's what they recommend. And he switched it to Amsoil, and he did drop oil temperature quite a bit. But he's got an aftermarket engine management system on his bike where he can tune it. And I'm not for dead sure, but I'm pretty sure that he can monitor his cylinder head temperatures and stuff. So I'm actually going to ask him next time I see him if he can to monitor those. And I know he's got sheets from back in the day when he was tuning the bike. I'm going to get him to see if he can do it, to check the head temperatures and see if they are higher with this oil. And they probably will be, like you said, because You know, what you said makes sense on all that stuff. And I like what you said. You keep talking about the clearances too. Uh, and I have to tell people that every day. I get people not necessarily talking about between synthetic and non-synthetic, but I get people in here with 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, even 2000 models, 95s, and all that model cars, and they'll want to run. It'll say right on the oil cap, you know, 5W30 or 5W20. You know, a lot of your cars are 520, and they'll want to run 10W40 oil in them, and stuff like that. And they say, oh, thicker oil's better, you know. And I try to explain to them just like what you were talking about, the clearances. You know, I'm like, listen, you know, back when I used to rebuild my 440s when we were drag racing, I think the crankshaft spec on those is 1.5 to 3 thousandths. I think 1.5 is kind of tight, and you know, 2.5 is ideal, and 3.5 is kind of loose, you know. And most of the time, we were 2.5 thousandths. And that's what I try to tell people, you know, an old 440 or 350 or 302, you know, you're running 2.5, 3 thousandths crank clearance, rod clearance. And on these newer engines, you may be running 1 thousandth or less. I mean, I've actually seen some foreign engines, some Toyotas that I've worked on, that the bearing clearance was a 1/2 thousandth or 3/4 of a thousandth, you know. And you try to tell people that you know, that you try to explain to them that they need that thin oil. That's why they recommend thinner oil now. You know, not only for gas mileage, it is for mileage and that kind of stuff, but you got to have thinner oil to get in those bearing clearances. I run into that every day trying to explain to people not to run this thick oil. Uh, so you know, the only time I like to go to a thicker oil is if I do go to a synthetic. You know, because synthetic does flow easier, I guess you'd call it. It flows easier. It's a little thinner, you know, weight to weight. So a lot of times I will, like if I am changing a car to synthetic and it calls for 5W30, I may go to 10W30. You know, just because of that, to keep the oil pressure up where it should be. But anyway, brother, I appreciate your teaching me what you could on that, and I appreciate you for. I liked your video on using the smoke machine. You know, most people don't know what a smoke machine is. I'm the only shop, and as far as I know, I don't know of another shop in our area that's got a smoke machine. I mean, maybe some of the body shops might. To be honest about it, it kind of surprised me to see you have one, but I guess maybe body men probably do need one. As many wrecks as you encounter, you know, with broken evap lines and stuff like that. But I was getting so many evap jobs, and I was having to tell the people, you know, you're going to take it to a dealer to get it smoked, because, like I said, no private shops around here have got smoke machines. And I was just getting tired of sending them, and so I ended up buying one. And I use it every week. I mean, it's not just for evap stuff, for vacuum leaks, and you can use it for windshield leaks, you know, any kind of, you know, you can use it for anything. And I guess maybe that's why you guys use them too, is for like interior leaks, windshield seal leaks, and door seal leaks, and stuff like that. But they are a very, very handy thing. I bought a Blue Point one. So it works well. It really does. So anyway, that's it. Enough talking to Darren, guys. I know some of you may feel alienated when I do that, when I go off and start talking to one person. But you can learn, you know, just like what I was talking about there with oil and stuff. You know, that's just not for between me and him. You know, anybody can learn from that stuff. And that is something, you know, that is a tip I give to everybody. Especially if your car's anything fairly new, and I know most of, you know, I'm talking 90s on up, especially, you know, if it's a close tolerance roller cam engine, and most engines are now, you need to look whatever your owner's manual says on oil, and your oil cap. That's what you need to run in it. So anyway, guys, let's get to the important part tonight. I know I've jibber jabbered an awful long time, but like I said, I need to say what I need to say. I need to thank Darren for that. Let's get to the important part tonight, though. Acts chapter 22, verse 28. No, and I wanted to say one more thing, Darren. I know you thank me for my words of wisdom every morning, and I don't know how wise they are. I do what I can do. If I do have any wisdom, it comes straight from the Lord. It comes from the Bible. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank you for your wisdom, brother. Your videos. I learn more from them, and I'm not just talking about bodywork type stuff and mechanical type stuff. Uh, you have a lot of living wisdom in your videos. You may not think so all the time, but you really do. You have a lot of just life lessons and a lot of that stuff that really helps us out. So I appreciate you for doing them, brother. So anyway, now let's get to it. Acts chapter 22, verse 28. Here we go. And the chief captain answered, with a great sum obtained I this freedom. And Paul said, but I was freeborn. Again, guys, going back to where they were beating the snot out of Paul and locking him up and all this. And he told them he was a Roman. So now they're trying to get to the bottom of that. Then straightway they departed from him which should have examined him. And the chief captain also was afraid. And he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. See, like I've said before, guys, back in these days, I mean, this was the highest thing. If you were a Roman citizen, if you were just a Roman citizen, you didn't have to be up in the hierarchy of Rome. If you were just a Roman citizen, then you were better than, you know, in everybody's eyes, you were 99% better than anybody. You know, the Jews kind of had their own little snotty thing going on where they thought they were better because they were God's chosen people. I guess if there was any, they probably were. I mean, what I'm trying to say, because they were God's chosen people, they were actually they were better standing than the Romans were, but the Romans thought they were better. So, see, Paul was an odd situation. Paul was a Jewish Roman. So he was a Jew, but he was also a Roman citizen. So, when these people found out that they had bound and beat a Roman citizen, I mean, that would be like now taking a congressman or senator or the president's son or something and beating the snot out of him and throwing him in a jail for 2 days not knowing who he was, and then come to find out who he was. So you can imagine they were pretty scared because to find out that Paul was a Roman citizen. Let's see. Verse 30. On the morrow, because he would have known and certainty wherefore he was accused of the Jews, he loosed him from his bands and commanded the chief priests that all their council to appear, and brought Paul down and set before him. Now, guys, if I can get my e-sword to change here real quick, we're going to go on into chapter 23. All right, 23 verse 1. And Paul earnestly beholding the council said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God unto this day. And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. So this, when Paul said that he had lived by God, lived everything in good conscience by God, this made Ananias so mad he couldn't stand it, you know, because for what Paul was preaching, this was blasphemy to the Jews. So he actually wanted them said to hit Paul on the mouth. It made him so mad. He said, hit him on the mouth. So verse 3, Then Paul said unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall. For sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the law? Paul's saying, God's going to smite you. You know, a white wall. That's that's what Jesus used that term. You know, that it's a wall that's been painted white and it looks good. It looks good on the outside, but on the inside it's dirty and it's still an old cruddy wall. You can paint it white all you want, cover it up. That's what Paul's calling him. He's saying, you appear to be good on the outside. You appear to be religious on the outside, but you don't have nothing. You ain't got Jesus. You've rejected him. And he says, God's going to smite you for doing that. You know, he's saying, how dare you to say, command me to be smitten contrary to the law, he's saying, you know. Verse 4, And they that stood by said, Revilest thou God's high priest? Then said Paul, I wist not, brethren. They saying, you talk to God's high priest like that? We can't believe you're talking to him like that. Then said Paul, I wist not, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, Thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people. But when Paul perceived that the one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead I am called in question. And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. So Paul was claiming, and that was the truth. Paul was a Pharisee. Anyway, let's see. We're going to stop there, guys, because I know that's at least 10 verses. It's probably more. But we can see here that Paul was right in the middle of it. Paul was right in the middle of it. They were arguing back and forth here. You know, that's talking about Paul calling them whitewashed. You know, that's the way a lot of people are today. And, you know, guys, you know, they ain't none of us perfect. You know, me, I mean, I'll be honest about it. I don't know. I think I've not, as far as my job as a pastor goes, I don't know. I've probably not been good enough. I've not done everything that I could have. I've probably done some things I shouldn't have, said some things maybe I shouldn't have. And you know, that's between me and God, and if I do fall short, that's between me and God. You know, and that's the way all of us are. And I don't think we should judge each other. That's the thing that's getting me, because none of us are worthy to be judged. You know what I'm saying? By our own accords. You know, our filthiness, or excuse me, our righteousness, as Paul later writes, our righteousness is a filthy rags. It means nothing, you know. And to be honest, right now, guys, I think I got some people judging me. I think, to be honest, I think that's why we've got some people not coming to church. I think I've got some people judging me and mad over some stuff and not coming. And, you know, I feel bad about that. But, you know, the thing about it is, I'm no more perfect than they are, and they're no more perfect than me. So, you know, I got to stand before God for the things I do and say, just as they do. So, you know, it's between, and the thing that gets me is, if God forgives me for this stuff, just like Jesus, and I know this is going to be a long video, guys. I hate having to upload it for so long, but the Holy Spirit's rolling. I'm not going to stop it. Just like Jesus told the woman in the act of adultery, you know, he says, you know, if God cannot, you know, God is forgiving you of this. If God cannot conflict you of this, if God cannot condemn you for this, these men can't either. You know, they can't do it under law, because none of, you know, them, they've sinned. They can't do it. God's not going to do it. You know, it's the same way with us. You know, if God forgives me of the things I've done wrong, just as you guys, I'm using me as an example. You know, if God forgives me for it, then you're not supposed to hold it against me. And same way with me towards you. If you do something, you know, and you ask for forgiveness and you repent of it, God's going to forgive you of that. And guess what? I'm supposed to too. So guys, just pray for that for me too. Like I said, I really do. I think I got some people that are holding some things against me, and I'm not just saying it because it's me, you know, but if God forgives me of these things, they're supposed to too. So just pray for that for me, guys, that they will forgive me for these things, for my shortcomings. Thank you guys for being here. I love you all. It's one of the longest videos I've ever made. It's 18 minutes, but hey, I'll be up a while anyway. Guys, thanks for being here. I love you guys. If you need anything, let me know. Good Lord willing, I'll be here tomorrow night. Until I see you guys again, good night, and God bless.